Throughout this chapter and in the beginning, I showed you and explained pretty much everything you need to know about dodging and burning for you to start. Well, there's one more thing, and that is actions. We're going to use actions to automate certain repetitive tasks and therefore speed up our progress, or actually our workflow. Now, if you're not familiar with actions, well, actions are basically pre-recorded steps that you can play back later. For instance, if I open up an image, I duplicate the layer, I select my tool, all that can be recorded, all those steps. And then with the press of a button, you can play them back. Pretty cool stuff. Well, before I begin explaining how everything works, I just want to point out that I'm not going to be providing you with these actions. And the main reason for this is that some of the settings may vary from user to user, and I don't want you to load up mine and then get an error. And also, I would like to give you an incentive. I would like to encourage you to watch this video and to try to record the same actions on your own with your own settings. That's the best way to learn, really. So let's begin, shall we? If you don't have anywhere your actions palette open and you don't know how to access it, you can always go to Window and then choose Actions, or pressing the keyboard shortcut Alt or Option F9. It's going to bring up Actions palette. Now, by default, I believe there are just default actions here, folder, but I have deleted mine, maybe you have yours as well, because quite frankly, they're not very useful. And instead, I've created some of my own actions. Now, in Actions palette, we have these folders and you have these sort of files inside. Well, these folders are called sets, and within that we have actions. And if you scroll down, open one of those actions, you will see all the steps that were needed to record this action. Now, what we're going to be doing is creating our own set, our own folder, and we're going to call it, I'm going to click on this little new set icon, and that's going to bring up the dialog box asking me to name my action. Well, let's name it just the way the title, the training title is called. So let's name it The Art of Dodge and Burn. Very simple. Okay, I click OK, and now I can create my own actions within this. But before I do, I wanted to point out something. If you click on a tool, if you open up a document, if you open up a layer, duplicate it and things like that, those things will be recorded. Selecting a tool will be recorded, but I don't believe Photoshop records settings for your tool. Now, the way to go around this is by creating first a preset for your brush. Now, if I select my brush, I have here a couple of presets which I created. For instance, if I click on this preset, it's going to load up all the settings I have previously set for my brush. So what would those settings be? Well, I will be first the size and the hardness of my brush. In this case, I've chosen 90 pixels for the size and hardness is set to 0. Also, if I open up my brush panel, my transfer options are set under control to pen pressure and pen pressure, because I'm using pressure sensitive tablet. This may not, as already explained in previous videos, this may not be something you want to use. And also I have my airbrush mode on, my flow is set to 3%. So all of those settings I have now saved as brush preset by going here and choosing this little icon. I have named it Vacuum Brush Tool Soft Round 90, and I can even rename it further, and I might call it 3%, because I have another one which is not 3%, which is 8%. I'm using this one for soft light blend mode when I'm doing dodging and burning, and I use this one when working with two curves. So I'll show you how that works in a second. Now that I have everything set, all I have to do is now set up my stage for actually creating an action. And this is something I learned from experience. So basically, because I'm going to be choosing my brush tool, instead I'm going to first choose another tool. Because if you have your brush tool selected and you're recording your action and you click on the brush tool again, it's not going to be recorded because it's already selected. But if I have some other tool selected, then when I'm recording an action, I can click on this brush and it will record the switching of the tool. Next thing I want to do is I want to change my swatches, both foreground and background. I'll show you why in a minute. And also under my brush, I'm gonna my flow set to 100%. So when I change it by selecting that preset, I know that this will change as well. Now that I have everything selected, and this step that I just showed you by selecting my brush preset and all that, that's unique to me. So if I were to now record an action along with that preset and I send you an action, if you don't have a preset, it won't work for you. It will display an error. But my preset works only for me because I'm using specific model of pen and tablet. You may not be using tablet at all. You might be using another model. You might be using your mouse. So that might be different. So what I suggested is that you do is that once you know what settings you're going to be using for your brush tool when doing dodging and burning, then you record that as a preset for your brush. And then what you need to do is, like I said, switch to, let's say, your marquee tool, change your swatches to some color other than default, and we are ready to record our first action. So I'm going to go to my actions palette now, and I'm going to click on this create new action icon, and this will prompt me to name my action. Now the first action we're going to be creating is going to be called dodge and burn 50% gray layer, and it's soft light. So I'm going to name everything. And then I'm going to copy all of this because that's the name of the group I'm going to be using. Or actually the name of the layer. So when I write my action here, I'm going to copy the name of it as well. Now set, this allows me to put it in one of these folders if I want to. As you can see, I have these 3 folders to choose, just as I have here. Well, I'm going to use the Art of Dodge and Burn, newly created set or folder. Function key. Here I can assign keyboard shortcuts to my action. Now this is something we're going to be doing later on, so right now we're not going to be using that. And I can choose my color. This is mainly used for organizational purpose, so in this case we don't have to use it. And I'm going to click record. When I do, you can see that Photoshop has created within the actions palette this new action. It named it properly, and now this icon is active. This little record button, which means that now we are recording. So what are we recording? Well, we're not recording my voice. Zooming back and forth, that's not recorded. Changing the panel size, that's not recorded. What is recorded is changing the brush or selecting another tool, duplicating a layer, and things of that nature. So what we want to do now is we want to Alt or Option click on the new layers icon. This will prompt me with the new layer dialog box. Now since as you can remember, I copied this name in my clipboard, so I can now paste it here, so I don't have to manually retype it. Use previous layer to create clipping mask. This is something we don't need at the moment, so I'm not going to be using that. Color, this is where we can choose another color for the color of the layer. This is for just, I guess, organizational purposes. And we can choose our blend mode here. I'm going to raise or reposition my dialog box because this pop-up menu might go beyond the recording area, so you won't see everything. But if I roll this open, you can see here that I have my group of contrast enhancing blend modes. An interesting thing about them, if I click on overlay, for instance, it will also allow me to activate this option to fill the newly created blank layer with 50% gray or overlay neutral color. Now, if I use my keyboard, I don't think that you can do this on Mac, but if I switch from overlay to soft light, hard light, vivid light, linear light, pin light, all of those have an option to fill it with 50% gray, except hard mix. The reason why hard mix doesn't have it is because it basically posterizes your image. But if I roll down, open this set of blend modes, you can see that all of them, including the hard mix, are all grouped here. So you can theoretically use any of them except this last one to do dodging and burning. But as we explained in one of the videos, I primarily use soft light, or you can, if you want to, choose an overlay. Or you can even record another action for overlay. What we are going to be using is soft light. And I'm going to fill it with soft light neutral color 50% gray. Once I have all this selected, I'm going to click OK. As you can see, Photoshop did create, actually did record what I just did. It says make new layer, and then in Photoshop doc use layer blah blah blah. So for right now, it has recorded this, what we just, with all those settings. It did, it's set to soft light, it's a 50% gray layer, it's even named properly. And the next step we want to do here is we want to create a mask to this. And then instead of clicking on the mask, I want to click back, because if you remember, my swatches were red here, but I can only paint with black and white on the mask. So what I want to do is I want to click back to the layer, and this will have my two swatches in one of those two colors. Now the reason why I chose these different colors rather than default is because I might play back this action after I have been painting with some other color. So I do want, as one of the steps while recording the actions, I do want to reset my swatches. So I'm going to press the letter D. It's going to reset my swatches. As you can see, it has been recorded. I'm going to press my X key. That's going to exchange my swatches. It did. And now I have to select my brush tool. When I do, it said select brush. Now remember, if I had my brush already selected before I was recording action, now when I would click on the same brush, it wouldn't say select brush because it was already selected. So like I told you in the beginning, based on experience, simply, I knew that I had to choose another tool. Now all that has left is to choose my brush preset. Because even though I can now change my settings here, let me show you. I can change my settings, but it didn't record them, right? But if I switch to my preset, it's going to be recorded. And with all the settings that I previously saved for that particular preset. So now that I have everything selected, everything is saved, I'm going to click stop recording. And now I'm going to test this out, I'm going to delete this layer. And I'm going to change my swatches to some different color. And let's see if this actually works. I'm also going to increase my flow so I know everything has been changed. I can even switch to another tool. And now when I play back the action, well, everything is working, right? What it did, well, it created a new layer, it filled it with 50% gray. It added a layer mask to it. It renamed it properly. It set it to soft light. It resetted my swatches. Selected my white color as my foreground. It switched to my tool for burning and dodging, and that is brush tool. And it has loaded my preset. Perfect. Now we are ready to do the same thing, but this time we're going to be recording a next action, next method for dodging and burning, if you will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this newly created layer, and I'm going to again change my settings for my foreground and background swatches. I'm going to use my float to 100% for my brush, switch to another tool, and I'm ready to record another action. This time we're going to be recording a soft light blank layer for dodging and burning. Remember that? So again, I'm going to click on the new action, and I'm going to call this dodge and burn blank layer, and it too is set to soft light. All the settings remain the same like before. Set is still the art of dodge and burn. Function key, I don't have to change that. Color, we can set it to none. Record, again, my action button is now recording, and it's time to record my my action. So Alt or Option click on the new layer again. I'm gonna paste the name, and if you copied yours, you can do the same. This remains the way it is. Again, we're going to change this to soft light like we did before, and we're going to fill it with 50% neutral color, 50% gray. Now that we have everything selected, I'm going to click OK. Once that happens, wow, it did create it, actually did record making new layer, just as we wanted. And I'm going to create new mask. But remember, swatches, so I don't forget, I'm going to click on the layer. I'm going to reset my swatches, exchange them. So I'm pressing D for reset and X for exchange. And now I'm going to select my brush. And once again, I'm going to load my preset. And now I'm going to stop recording. So let's see if that works. Delete this, change the color of my swatches once again. Flow set to 100% for my brush, select another tool, and let's play back the action. What I did wrong here is I wasn't really paying attention, so what I did, instead of recording my action as a blank layer, I actually recorded it once again as a gray layer, just like I did in the previous one. Well, I can record this video all over again, or I can show you how to change if you made a mistake, how to correct this type of mistake. Well, if you can see, this action is actually has certain steps to it, right? It's not just that I have to delete the entire action. I can actually delete this thing. So maybe if I click on this, I can deactivate this one and click here. So when that happens, let's see if this works now. I'm going to click play. And you see what happened? That make, fill with 50% gray, that's the thing that I deleted. And instead, I corrected the mistake that I just made. So it created blank layer instead of 50% gray. And then actually I can dodge and burn this. So what I did here is I made a mistake, and now I'm just showing you how to fix that in case you do make a mistake on your own as well. You don't have to record your entire action if something is wrong. And knowing how to fix your actions is a good thing to know, because it's hard to really make all the steps perfect. Sometimes you will record everything and you might even have a very complex action, and once you're done recording, you realize, well, wait a minute, I made a mistake here, but I'm not sure what it is. And then you open down this action here in the palette and you can dissect it and kind of figure out, okay, I know what's wrong with this. Maybe I can just fix this little part. And I just show you how I did that. And maybe I make another mistake throughout this recording, so I can show you how to fix that as well. All right, now that we have our two actions, it's time to create another action, right? So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to, again, switch my swatches to something else. Switch my tool, actually my brush, I can even switch that to something else, switch to my tool. And now let's create our third method, and that is two curves, right? So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to call this dodge and burn two curves layers. And I'm going to copy the name like I did before, and instead of setting it in this frequency set here, I'm going to set it to art of dodge and burn. Function key and all that we're going to leave as it is, and I'll click record. Now I'm ready to record my action. Well, for this thing, I'm going to be needing my adjustment palette. So I'm going to expand that. Now, even though I collapsed my panel for actions, it's still recording. It's just hidden for a moment. Now, what I'm going to be doing here is I have to create two curves layers, right? One for dodging and one for burning. So I'm going to Alt or Option click on the curve layer. And this curve one, we're going to call this dodge. And all this other thing, we don't need to change anything. I'm going to click OK. I'm gonna click here in the middle. By the way, this grid that you see here, if you don't see it like this, you can either go here under I guess it's under auto options. No, it's not. Curve display option, that's it. So here you can change this grid to be larger or smaller. Now this doesn't change the way curves behave, it just gives you, I guess, more precise grid to make your adjustment. Or you can alter option, click on the grid. It's going to change it as well. So if you have this smaller grid, you can click here on the middle and raise it about two of these rectangles or two of these grid segments up. So that's for dodging, right? We just lighten our image. And then here on the on my layer mask, I'm going to click on it and press Control or Command I. That's going to invert the mask. Now I can go back to my adjustment layer, my adjustment panel, and here I can create my burn curve by Alt or Option clicking on it again. And let's call it burn. Everything else is set the way it is. Okay. Now the same thing here, except we are darkening, right? So I'm going to click on the middle. I'm going to pull it around here. So that's going to be for darkening. Click on the mask, Control or Command I to invert the mask. And the next thing I need to do now is collapse my adjustment panel so I have more room to work with my layers panel. I'm going to select both of these by shift selecting them. I'm going to Alt or Option drag them to the new group icon. It's going to let me name it. And I'm going to paste the name I just copied in the beginning and click OK. And as you can see, I did create my group. I have two of those curves layers inside. And since I'm mostly going to be working with my dodge layer, I'm going to click on it. In this case, it didn't change my swatches because when I click on the mask, I can only play with black and white. So I do want to have my swatches reset it. So I'm going to press D to reset them, X to exchange them, and then I'm going to click back to the dodge layer. Click on my tool, and I have a different preset for working with two curves layers, and that one is just like before, except it has 8% for my flow. So I'm going to select that one, and I'm ready to work on an image if I wanted to, except now that I have my dodge mask selected, I can see that my swatches are actually white, so I'm going to have to D for default, and that's going to put my foreground color to white here, I believe. Yeah, and I can open my panel and click stop recording. Now the only thing that I did at the end, I wasn't sure about the exchange swatches, so I made another mistake, right? I exchanged swatches with my X key here 2 times. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the last one, because I don't need that one. And let's see if this works. I'm going to click on my curves mask, my group. I'm going to click on the trash can and delete group and content at the same time. Now let's see if this works. I'm going to exchange some settings here and let's play back. Everything worked except this. That's what I was afraid of. Because by default, when I reset the swatches, white was my foreground color. Now it's set to black. So if I were to now paint, nothing would happen because I'm already working on a black mask. So I need to fix that as well. And that will probably be this one at the end, exchange swatches. I don't need that, so I'm going to delete that, delete everything one more time, and let's test it one more time. Again, changing this. Now it works. Brilliant. Let's zoom in so I can see if this actually works. Yeah, I'm dodging. Yeah, it's working. That's good. Now let's delete this one more time. change, make some changes here. And let's create our color layer. That's something I'm going to be using quite often, so I'm going to create mine. I'm going to click on the new action icon, and let's call this color layer, and let's leave everything the way it is except copying the name. Remember, that's kind of like the experience step, and click record. Now what I want to do is I want to create my blank layer, but I also want to name it. So I'm going to Alt or Option click on the new layer, and I'm going to call it color layer. And here I don't want to change anything. So actually I do want to change, right? We wanted to change the color mode to color blend mode, because this is in fact color layer. And click OK. What I want to do, I want to add my mask. Again, my swatches change because I'm painting on mask with only black and white, so I have to switch back to my layer. D to reset swatches, X to exchange swatches. And now all I have to do is select my brush. So everything that I just did in all the previous recordings, you did it with me, and then you switch to your preset. Now this is unique to you. I'm going to use this one for myself. And I'm going to stop recording. Let's see if this works. I'm going to delete my newly created layer, change some swatches here, change this, and let's play it back. It worked. I'm going to sample a color here, and as you can see, I can paint without color. Brilliant. Next thing is creating our help layer. Remember, we had two versions of it. One was black and white adjustment layer, and the other version of it was using two curves, one to darken, one to increase contrast, and hue saturation layer to desaturate the color from the image. And that's what we're going to be doing. So let's start off by creating a new action. Let's call this one, we're going to be first creating a dodge and burn. Let's name this something really interesting, like curves help for dodge and burn. No, I don't want to make something really complicated. It's going to look like a license plate. Let's make it just T for temporary. If you're more creative than me, please feel free to write in your name of the action any way you see it fit. Names I'm not good at. So let's... my set was targeted to wrong set, so I'm going to switch to Art of Dodge and Burn. Everything else remains the same, and record. Actually not record, another mistake. While I was talking, my color layer remained here, so I'm going to have to stop recording, delete that. Nothing still happens, so I'm going to click back to record, and now I'm actually ready to record. So I'm going to open up my adjustments panel once again, and remember, I'm still recording. So I'm going to create my hue saturation layer, and I'm going to call this desaturate, and I guess everything I can remain the same, so I'm using this to desaturate the image. So I'm going to pull this saturation slider all the way to the left. Boom, no color in the image, just as I wanted. Go back and Alt or Option click on curves 1. In fact, we can call it just curves 1 and 2. Why not, right? So I'm going to click OK. Now here I want to darken the image a bit, so I'm going to maybe darken it like this. Go back, create another curve. Let's call this curve 2, no problem. I just Alt or Option clicked on the curve, this little icon, and click OK. And for this one, I'm going to increase contrast, but not too much, something like this. And now I'm going to collapse my panel so I can see all the three curves. And I'm going to shift select all three of them and Alt or Option drag them to new group icon. I'm going to paste the name that I wanted and click OK. I think that about does it. So I'm gonna open up my actions palette, stop recording, and let's see if this works. I'm gonna delete everything and play back the action. Yep, it works. It did everything. So what happens if it's too dark, right? You play this action on some underexposed image and it's way too dark. Well, that's the beauty of adjustment layers. You can always throw open this group and click on any of the layers and change the settings any way you see fit. So it works for any individual example you want. I'm going to delete everything, all the content and everything, and one more action to go, right? We need to record the next action, and that one is for the use of temporary layer, black and white temporary layer. Remember that one with the masochet slider? All right, so we need to collapse this, create new action set, and let's call this one black and white. Again, you can name it any way you want, just as long as the description kind of fits with the action so you don't get confused. Let's call this one black and white, help for dodge and burn temporary, record. Open up my adjustment panel. Again, I'm still recording. And I'm going to Alt or Option click on the black and white, and I'm just going to delete this one because there's no point in keeping it here. Actually, I can even add here maybe this thing, and I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to lower my red slider. I'm going to increase my yellow slider. And I would like to put this into a group, so I'm going to Alt or Option drag it to group icon, paste the name, and click OK. This is just for organizational purposes. And I'm going to open up my actions palette and click stop recording. I'm going to delete everything and see if this actually works. Oops. I had my make groups step select and I click play it, and in fact it did create a group, which is pretty cool. But that's not what I want, so I'm going to click on my black and white help for dodging and burning temporary and play back that one. Boom, it did exactly as I would expect. Even my sliders are at the right spot. So I'm going to delete that one as well, because now what I want to do is I want to show you the next step. We have created every action that I wanted for this particular video. So the next step, what I want to do is, by default, your actions are displayed like this in the actions palette. Well, there is another way to display actions. By clicking here on this icon, you can choose button mode. And button mode is kind of a more organized way to see your actions, and in case you don't need to modify them. Plus, it allows you to click on each one of them and it will just play. So just click and play. Now, the problem I'm having here is that I have all those other folders, all those other actions, and all of them are kind of now grouped together. So I don't really see the new actions that I just created. So I'm going to jump out of that button mode here, and I'm going to change something here. I'm going to click on each of these, and I'm going to switch my color to, let's say, green color, and that's just for organizational purposes. Not sure if you can do this by simply selecting a bunch of actions and changing the color. So I'm going to do this manually, just double clicking on this empty space where there's no name, and then choosing green as my color, like so. And one more time, and when I click now to button mode, boom. Now I can exactly see all the newly created actions separated nicely from the previous actions. And if I were to incline to to play back one of them, boom, I click on it, it does in fact work. Everything is recorded for me. I'm going to delete that, and one more thing I want to do. Go back to our default display, and I want to change two of the settings. Actually, I want to assign keyboard shortcuts, because if you saw me work with keyboard shortcuts, you probably saw me work on some of the previous videos where I just play back something in the background and actually I press some kind of wacky keyboard shortcut combination and the action is played back in the background. Well, that's kind of handy, don't you think? So if you want to, you can create your own. The two keyboard shortcuts that I like to use are Shift F9 and Shift F10, and I like to use them, actually I like to assign them to particular actions, and those would be 50% gray layer. I'm going to double click again, and I'm going to, on the function key, and I'm going to choose F9, and I'm going to use here Shift. So combination of Shift and F9 will play back that action. And for color layer, I'm gonna change that to Shift F10. I think I can even reposition them if I wanted to, like so. But in this case, I don't think I want to. Maybe I can switch my curve all the way up here, and that's gonna work fine. And I'm gonna click back to my button mode, and everything is now ready to work on the image. Now let's test this to keyboard shortcuts. So that's Shift F9 and Shift F10, right? Boom, I'm gonna zoom to 100%, position myself somewhere like so, and let's play back first the dodge and burn. Shift F9. Boom, when I play it back, I can immediately dodge an area very subtly. It's exactly what I wanted. Let's undo that. Now, what it did is when I press Shift F9, it did everything for me, right? All those steps that I was that were so painstaking to record. It created a new layer, fit it with 50% gray. It added my layer mask, named the layer, set it to soft light, choose my preset with all those settings, and switch to my brush tools, exchange my swatches, everything with just press of a button. Ain't that cool? So let's delete that. Actually, I didn't have to delete it. I could just Shift F9, play it back again, and then I can press Shift F10. It's going to create my color layer. Now I can select the color and paint with that color if I wanted to. I just Alt or Option, temporarily switch to my eyedropper tool, pick this color from the iris, and boom, I'm painting with another color. Just brilliant way to speed up your workflow now that you know and understand everything. Hopefully you will use this, actually I hope you will watch this video and follow along with me. Even if you make mistakes, now you know how to change at least some of them, and record these actions so you can have them in your own actions palette and speed up your workflow, because it is a really speedy way and efficient way to work. Because even though dodging and burning is a manual process, things like creating a new layer and filling it with certain color, that's something that should be automated, because it's a mechanical type task, right? You don't want to do that over and over again. Well, this is a quick way for you to escape that drudgery and simply use a keyboard shortcuts, which is even faster. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and you can create your own actions. So I'll see you in the next chapter.